Welcome to the Time Management Podcast with me, your host, Abigail Barnes. I'm a productivity coach, global speaker, time management author, and award-winning entrepreneur on a mission to share the 888 formula with the world and to remind you that it's your time. Leave it to me to bring you new time management tips, tricks, tools, and strategies, to introduce you to guests, research, and case studies from around the world, and to give you a simple 5-step process you can follow to uplevel your productivity, achieve your goals, and create a life that exceeds your wildest dreams. I'm so excited that you're here, so let's get started. Welcome to the show. Today, I am so excited to bring you the incredible Melissa Curran. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Abigail. I'm super excited to be here and thank you so much for inviting me.
Who is Melissa Curran in a nutshell? Let's dive straight in.
Well, I am the founder of the Modern Mind Group and I've been doing this for over 5 years now. I'm in my 6th year within business and I've worked in the industry as a people and performance consultant for well over a decade. I'm the author of the best-selling book, Emotioneering Business Results. And I love what I do. What I do is all about people, and helping people every day just achieve so much more. I live in South Wales. I have an amazing husband called Steve, and I also have a Frenchie called Temper, and he's going to be 9 in a couple of weeks' time. I will be treating him more than I usually do, but he's our absolute amazing superstar of a dog. It makes me laugh every day. So that's a bit about me.
Oh my goodness. And if you want to see Melissa's little Frenchie, then you have to give her a follow on the Instagram because sometimes he does make cameo roles over on there. Melissa, talk us through your relationship with time over the years. What was it like back in the early days?
I'll be honest, like rewind the clock. Let's go back 30 years ago. I thought there was so much time in the world. I would daydream. I would have all sorts of plans and schemes and dreams and still managed to be late for everything back then. Maybe that was being influenced by role models in my life that maybe didn't take time or other people's time so seriously. Fast forward to now, time is gold, right? Someone told me that. To me, time is gold. The less you have of gold, the more precious it is. There's only so much gold in the world. And that's the way I see it now. Whereas, I think a lot of people may connect with that when you're younger and you think, oh, there's so much time ahead of us. And as you get older, you just realize it's much more precious. What do we want to achieve? What do we want to do? What's the purpose of it all? And now my relationship with time is, much more finite. And I look to what I can do with it much more effectively. And I'm not so late anymore.
How did you get into the work that it is that you do today?
I feel like it was a bit of a calling. I worked in many different industries, many different sectors, all based around people. So all service-based industry work. I worked from the front line up. So in every role I've ever done, whether it be a waitress, whether it be a contact center person, whether it be retail staff assistant, all of these different frontline service-based roles, I started right at the very bottom and then worked my way up. And as I grew within the companies, helped them to have much better service, have much better sales, help them to perform, I started to help and coach other people to do what I was doing and ended up pioneering a training and development department where there hadn't been one before for a particular company, which had about 3 companies in the group. And they'd run ad hoc training, maybe had sort of induction training for people, but they hadn't actually really invested in it. And they saw something in me and my drive and passion for it. So they gave me the opportunity, which was great. And then because of my background in service and sales and in management and performance management of people, and then the training and development side, I was headhunted by a global management consultancy firm and found out very quickly it's very different when you're influencing others when you are a consultant from the outside in and not working within a company. Harnessed these skills by learning from others and then was sent all around the world, a little bit like a silver bullet to fix things for other companies, drive performance, look at framework, look how people were working together within teams, and then realized that I had my own certain way of doing that, which was successful. I started to train and run internal consultancy academies for new consultants that were coming on board. But I got sick of not sleeping in my own bed, not walking my own dog, and wondered if my husband had married a part-time wife. So I was like, actually, hey, if I'm around like 24/7, or if I'm around 7 days a week, you still going to stick around? No, I'm only teasing. Thankfully, the answer was yes. And I just decided in 2019, there are 6 million, at the time there was 5, there's now 6. There was 5 million SMEs in the UK, and they could do with some help too, not just the large corporate global brands, that there were other businesses. And if we could start early by doing some of the things and implementing some of the stuff, we could have much better success for the people within the business and make them much better environments for others.
Fantastic. And can you pinpoint a tipping point that was the catalyst for you transitioning from the corporate into the entrepreneur?
There were 2 things. One of them was that one of the executive directors that I was working with at the time said process comes first. I said people come first. They said process comes first. I said people come first. They said process comes first. And I paused and went, we're not on the same page here. And so that was one thing that happened. And I mean, it was quite an interesting conversation to have at dinner. And I realized that I actually needed to be the driving force behind what we were doing. I believe in process. It's just much more, and we'll delve into that a little bit more as to why now shortly. So then the other second thing was I'd been in 3 cities in one day. I'd got home I hadn't even got home yet. I got delayed flights. I arrived back from Milan at 4 a.m. and then had to get on a work call at 9 a.m. And at that point, I think I just realized, you know what? There's got to be something better out there. There's got to be something else I can be doing than being stuck between airports, and doing this. And don't get me wrong, I still do that now. I still travel for work. It's just on my time, right? And when I want to do that, and whether I've got the passion and purpose to do it, not being sort of told, we need you here, we need you there. And as lovely as it was, the way that I was told that, it's still a very different sort of place that it comes from when you've got your mission, your vision, and it's aligned, and you know what you want to do. And I remember, though, it's still a difficult decision, right? It's an emotional one and maybe a reactive one. And I just said, like, I got home at 4 a.m. and then I was expected to be on a call again at 9 a.m. And at that moment, it was reactive. So I had to sort of say to myself, well, hang on, Melissa, what do you need to make a plan. You need to respond to this. You can't just go, right, that's it, I'm off. And I made a plan. I sat there, I figured it out, looked at what I was going to do. And to be sure, I did a little bit of a decision-making graph. So there's an arrow, some arrows, kind of like an upside down Y. That's the best way to explain it. So there's one arrow going up to the ceiling, and then there's one going to southwest and southeast. So it's your upside down Y. And at the top, say all of those scales are kind of out of 10. One of them would be what you have to do. So everything that you have to do, score it out of 10. Do I have a lot to do? Out of 10. Then to the right-hand side, and the one that was down pointing towards kind of the south or the southeast, then I wrote on that one everything that you're skilled to do. So then that was out of 10. And then the one that was pointing to southwest, it was everything that you want to do, and it was out of 10 again. The everything that I have to do was 10 out of 10. I was accountable, responsible. I had so much to do, so much of that. So it was 10 out of 10. If I could have scored it 11 out of 10 on the chart, I probably would have. Everything that you're skilled to do, I wrote that down as a 9. I believe we've always got opportunity to learn and grow. I've learned how to run a business now. I've learned a lot more about what I do and how to do that. So there's always room for growth. So I put that at a 9 out of 10. And when it came to everything that I wanted to do on a scale of 1 to 10, I put it at a 2. Well, that's a very out of joint triangle if you join everything on the scale on the Y and where that had shifted. And it just wasn't what I wanted. I was doing the right things. I just wasn't doing it in the right way and for the right purpose. And now I feel like when I work with ambitious entrepreneurs, amazing professionals that are inspired and excited about this, not just seeing it as something they have to do. They're seeing it as something that is absolutely pivotal to their success. Then I know that I'm doing the right thing.
Thank you for explaining that and for talking us through your model and your decision-making process. It's so interesting. And there's always a trigger point, is what I found out from having these conversations with so many people over the years. And it's not necessarily a glamorous trigger point, but there's always something. And what I really hear you say in your answer is that you knew what your core values were, and it didn't matter anything else. Your core values were compromised. And from that point, you had to make another plan, another decision. And I totally, totally hear you in that one. That was exactly my catalyst. That was exactly what happened for me. You mentioned at the top of the podcast that you have a book. I have a copy of it here, Emotioneering, and it's absolutely amazing. I love it. Hard copy book. Talk to us about Emotioneering. What actually is it? Why does it matter? And how can it help us in our careers and in our businesses?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what it is not. So, emotioneering is not engineering. We are not engineering people to do the things that we know are better for them, better for us as a business, make the machine run smoothly, which a lot of operations is around, tweaking things, making things more convenient for people, less result of failure by doing one particular thing as an example. But how does it actually help the people? And to me, it's emotioneering human performance, not engineering it. We have to speak to the heart of the person. We have to understand what it is that they want from a compassionate and empathetic, emotional, intelligent side. Everyone wants something out of life. Everybody has a purpose. Everyone wants that little bit of motivation as to maybe why they want to get their next job, maybe why they want to put their children into different schools, whatever that may be. There's a driving factor and a driving force in everyone. And it's about speaking to that person and helping that person understand what it would mean for them to adapt and change, maybe in line with what you're looking to do with the business, maybe in advancing and stepping forward into something that maybe they haven't been courageous enough to do before, which is where, if anybody goes to the Modern Mind Group website and you see my logo, there's two triangles. And one of them is the Emotioneering Triangle. The other one is the Modern Mindset Triangle, but let's stick with the Emotioneering one for now. The Emotioneering Triangle has fear at the top, it has courage to the right, and it has confidence to the left. And essentially, no matter what we're doing as consultancy, no matter what we're doing as team managers, when we are helping people move forward with themselves, take steps, we are helping them move from fear towards courage and then towards confidence, because fear is a reaction, courage is a decision. And as far as I'm concerned, confidence is an absolute outcome. The piece where a coach or a manager or a leader of a business helps somebody to tap into why it's important for them, helps them move away from that fear. And with all that encouragement, with all that positivity, support, positive feedback, we can help that person move towards taking courageous steps in their life. And they might, I don't know, do a new learning course, go on a new course, take on the role as a manager. It could be start a business. Maybe it's someone saying, actually, I really want to do this. What's it gonna take? And that's what you're doing. You're really helping people move forward so that they can take courageous decisions in their life. I'm also a qualified counselor, and this is where I see the crossover, because again, anybody that has, well, we all have emotions, we all have mental health, we all have hearts and minds, and they collide sometimes. We have all of these emotions, and they don't come out in order. And it's fear that often either keeps us in the same spot or sometimes also projects us to do something else, from my experience and from what I've learned. And if we can help someone just feel so much more supported and connected to what they want to do, often they'll start to take those steps. Then with positive reinforcement, they will achieve the things that they need to achieve, or that they want to achieve, not need to, and they will get there. To me, emotioneering is my trademark. It's at the heart of everything that I do. And it really is what helps impact business leaders and their teams.
I think that you and I were both in the corporate world at the same time when emotions were weakness, and we didn't have time to be emotional in work because we just had to get on and get things done. How are you seeing organizations these days embracing conversations of emotion? And what impact is that actually having on things like productivity, on staff happiness, on retention of staff as a big one?
Oh, there's a couple of themes in here when it comes to this topic. So yes, let's go back. Let's go back to that time. It wasn't, especially as women within business, it wasn't seen, to show emotion or to allow that expression of anger, upset, tears, whatever there may be, to maybe the way that some people would respond to you or speak to you was definitely not something to show, and often meant that people would act out of character as managers or leaders because they felt like they had to be a certain way, or they weren't sort of connecting in the way that they can to really get change within their teams. When you touched on that emotion is open in the workplace, there's a little bit of a caveat here. To me, it's about responding versus reacting, and helping people to understand that if there is a reaction, that there's having that space to be able to talk about it away from everybody else and not having to erupt into, although it can happen because we are human. It's having that space and making that space for what's on your mind today. Having that time to sit down and allow that person to unpack what they're feeling. Because if you don't do that on a weekly, monthly basis, then you will get to that point where those emotions will erupt and reactions will come out. And the reason I say that is that, it's not appropriate for a doctor or a surgeon to react versus respond. However, they do still have to release that emotion and have a delayed reaction at some point. So we can help to control or manage our emotions if we've got an outlet for them. And to just give that a bit of an analogy, I've got a Diet Coke can here. The way I see it is that I can put a can of Coke in my bag and I can carry it around with me all day, all week. And all day and all week, it's going to get little knocks and it's going to get bumped from here to there. And if I attempt to open that at some point and let that out, it is going to absolutely explode. And as human beings, we're very similar. If we don't have that outlet to relieve that pressure, to allow us to just dissipate and process what's going on, it's going to come out in all sorts of other ways. It can come out physiologically, it can come out psychologically, all different manner of things can happen. I still see that there's a lot of work to be done, Abigail, in the workplace. There's also something to be said for the fact that at the moment, I feel like the conversation around emotions, as important as it is, I feel that maybe some workplaces might have become exhausted to the conversation because they feel like they're getting this message from everywhere. A very important link to understand is that from a health and safety perspective, and if you run a risk assessment based on well-being of staff, whether that be stress management, whether it be mental health, you're not going to lower the consequence of somebody having poor mental or emotional responses. We're not. So the reason why it has to stay topic of conversation and there has to be intervention and things that we do as leaders and people every week, every month, every day, is because whilst you can have a lot of actions and things to help it, the consequence of not doing that, especially in the service-based industry, when your team are delivering on the front line, they are facing your clients, putting on a smile every day. It's not enough to just think that it's a one fixed thing and then it will disappear. It's not going to disappear. It's about managing that, understanding that we need to have release outlets for them, making sure that they're having adequate rest, making sure they're having adequate breaks, that they're managing their time adequately and prioritizing the right things and giving them white space and time to process that stuff. Hence the emotioneering aspect of what we're discussing.
What I'm hearing you say is that it's really around organizations having processes and protocols and fundamentally understanding that your team is like a bonsai tree. It is going to grow. You are going to need to trim it. It's not just a question of we buy it, we put it on the table and that's it, they're done.
As a people operations and performance consultant, I look at 13 key areas of focus across a business. So whether that be training and development, whether that be recruitment, whether that is the leadership focus and how they manage and coach their team members, all those 13 different key areas of focus is what I look at with my Emotioneering business framework. And I help them to understand that and then look at, from that benchmark, what we actually do to improve everything for the organization, which then has the first and foremost impact on the team.
Can you give us some examples of organizations that you've worked with who have embraced the desire to change?
Because I work a lot with the actual business leaders themselves. A lot of them will come to me and say, well, I've been doing this for so long now. I'm running out of time to be able to train people. I don't have time to work on my business. I'm working in my business. And that's affecting their well-being. So that's affecting how they feel about their business, their motivation, everything, their peace of mind. Am I doing the right thing? Worrying that they're saying the wrong stuff to their team members. So working with them and coaching them to find the opportunities to bring people in to support them. So maybe I'm supporting them from a perspective of, right, okay, so you have none of your processes written down. No. Okay. And we don't have any type of sort of recruitment process to make sure that we find the right person. No, oh, well, we do have a recruitment process. And I look through it and I go, right, okay, we can save about a week's worth of time here by nailing this, changing some of these strategies, helping to bring life to the right person that they need in the business to start with, because also hiring the wrong people, they're leaving, I haven't got time to train, now I've got to hire someone else. It's so ineffective, and it wastes so much time for the individuals as well as for the business owners. From a training perspective, looking at, well, how do we save time with e-learning? If there is health and safety training that needs to be required, if I do need to show someone manual handling, can we have some type of e-learning course that can do that effectively? Well, somebody else is doing something else, and saving the time. What can we do to relieve the stress, relieve the pressure, help other people to understand what they need to do to succeed, which essentially then really helps with the talent development of the individuals that you have working with you, so they can clearly see, instead of just waiting for you, for the time that you don't have to spend with them, to really hone in on exactly what they need to do to close that skills gap, and then effectively coach to that.
Fantastic. You mentioned in your book that there is something called being a skillionaire. Can you tell us more about what being a skillionaire is?
I love the phrase skillionaire. I wish everybody embraced it, because the people who are millionaires, or the people who have achieved much better success success in terms of, if you do see it as having more of a salary and changing their life to make more impact for others, or however that may be, if they see it as that, then the route to having more skills is essentially what is going to get you there. If you have a high level of emotional intelligence to be able to provide feedback to others, help them grow and develop, essentially you're going to run an organization which is going to make you more money. Therefore, i.e., you will have skillionaires in your team, but you'll also become the skillionaire yourself. It all scales up. It impacts everybody else around you. And the more skills you have, the more valuable you are to doing what you do, and you're more likely to be able to achieve the things you want to achieve. So where we're at and where we're stuck at isn't where we can end up. It's embracing that there's so much more opportunity in growing, helping grow other people, and for people to embrace their own learning journey as well.
What would you say are the biggest lessons that you've learned along your career journey? Perhaps what's one thing that you would say to your younger self?
Oh God, I feel like I learn so much. I attempt to look at it on an annual basis. Like, what has life taught me this year that maybe it hasn't taught me before? Definitely, let's go back to what I was saying at the beginning, time, and that time is important. I did the 75 hard challenge, and not a lot of people know that. So yay, woohoo, completed it. I didn't have to do it again. I absolutely committed. It involved doing 2 workouts a day, involved making sure that you follow a strict diet. It involved drinking water, taking a selfie of yourself, reading every day at 10 pages every single day, all of these different things. There's no sugar, no chocolate, no takeaways, all this stuff, like no junk food. 75 days of that. And it works out, I think it's about 11, just over 11 weeks. And what it taught me was that it wasn't about the life-changing impact on your weight or how you felt or your energy or your fitness. It taught me about time boundaries. and managing time. Because in order to achieve all of the things that you need to achieve in the 75 hard every single day, you have to time block, manage, stick to your alarm clock, make sure that you get up and do those things that you need to do. So that taught me a very strong lesson. One, if you're motivated and you're dedicated, you can time block and you can make these things happen. And the second part to it was, if you start to change, other people will change around you. Instead of waiting for others to change for you to change, that was another important lesson along the way. For example, I never asked anybody to make me dinner, but Steve quickly realized that if I had to do a second workout and I walked through the door and I was going to go and do another 45 minutes on the treadmill or the bike or whatever it was, that would be another 45 minutes that he had to wait for dinner to then be put on. And he started going, okay, what can I like put on or put in the oven by the time that you get ready? I was like, wow, well, this is great. Almost, it's a very temporary fix, but it just went to show that actually, if you start to change the way that you look at things, everything else will start to change and people will start to kind of adapt to. So that was another interesting thing. I am not the like I don't think who is like I'm not the best, most organized person, as much as it may come across or it may come out there. I have to work extremely hard and I have to have discipline to make sure that I do that I don't let my clients down, that I make sure that I deliver and stick to deadlines, that I respond to people within enough time. All of these things, they take discipline and sacrifice. They do. Where you go, oh wow, I might want to just do that this afternoon. Oh, nice. At the same time, you do have like 2 to 3 hours of work to do on this in order for that to be delivered, because it's going to have a knock-on effect. So that's another thing I learned, and also that, and I think I learned this from you, but I'll carry it with me forever anyway. And you may have learned it, I'm sure, from someone else. Is that if you haven't learned the lesson yet, life will just keep throwing it at you until you do. And if you change, then other things start to change. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And thank you again for being so honest and vulnerable in your answers. And yes, I learned that spiritual lesson from one of my mentors. We will keep getting the same lesson over and over again in a different body, in different circumstances, in different experiences until we learn it. And the minute we learn it, it's gone, it's done. And it's almost, if you start to look at people in your life and think, why are they doing this to me? But you flip it, rather than why are they doing it to me, you ask the question, what are they teaching me? The minute you get that lesson, they'll stop. And they might leave your life, they might just change their habits and actions. But because you don't need it anymore, that will end. Unless we get it, it is going to keep coming back again and again and again and again. And while we're in it, it feels very, very challenging.
It does. But what we allow will continue. And yeah, so I don't think people aren't necessarily meant to be there with you for life either. You touched on a really important part of that. If we can grow and continue to grow together and respect boundaries and have great times and value and respect people around us, then things will be fine. But the minute that people start to disrespect or affect that, and too many times, and after you've asked or maybe given some feedback, then you know what, all the best to you. I wish you a great life, just not at my table.
Somebody said to me years ago that if you think of it like people are in your life for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime, then you will feel less upset about where are they, why aren't they returning my call, etc., etc. And the spiritual lesson really in that is that they are doing something to you to help you. And obviously, this is a huge conversation, and some of the things that happen to people are not acceptable. That I'm not discounting any of that, but some of the day-to-day things that happen, just notice those and observe, has this happened before, and why is this happening? Like bullying in offices and things like this. Where is the pattern? Where else in my life are people bullying me? And what am I allowing? And what do I believe I deserve? And so much of it And here's a funny thing, because we're talking about the journey from the corporate to the entrepreneur, and then how we see life, how we see business and everything. I was listening to a training the other day, and they were saying that when you go on the entrepreneurial journey, who thought it was going to be the most spiritually confronting journey of your life? But going on that entrepreneur journey will bring up everything that you didn't think was there and you weren't ready to confront. And you just thought that you were helping people using your skill set, trading your time for money in a different way. But the reality is that it is much, much more. And I definitely feel like I was not prepared for all of the stones that I have had to turn over and all of the skeletons that have come out of the multiple closets that I didn't even realize were there on this 10 plus year spiritual post near death experience life awakening.
So true. You conjured up the vision in my mind then of Gladiator and Marcus Aurelius off on his journey from what happened to him to where he ends up and what goes on in between. And all right, we're not on the battlefield many years ago, in the middle of the Colosseum battling it out. We're battling with ourselves half the time. You're so right. It's battling with the mindset of these things have happened, this stuff is going on, what am I going to do, and what is it trying to teach me to adapt or change to move that step forward, or you know what, maybe it isn't as painful, maybe it's not causing me as much pain, and actually I'll just stay here and continue to do the same year over and over again, even though it feels like progress. And I'm still in the same spot because I'm not realizing that there's that other potential that can be had, or there's a possibility of so much more opportunity out there. But you've got to have your eyes open, Abigail. I think that's the point though, isn't it? There's 4 main perception gaps to learning. I overestimate my abilities and I think, well, I'm awesome. Why would I even need to have anybody help me or help me grow? And why do I need to do another course or whatever it may be? I underestimate my abilities. So I don't put myself out there, and I don't step forward into what I could do. And I stay in the shadow of, I'm sorry, or feeling apologetic for who I am and what I do. There's the fact that I believe that I am coachable. I have overestimated my ability to be coached and my level of coachability. And I say, yeah, I'll do that thing. Yeah, of course I'm going to go and do that. And then when someone comes back and says, "Oh, did you do it?" No, but, and it's all externalized. Or then there's the 4th perception gap of, well, I'm the fixed mindset. I am what I am. I'm not going to change now. It's just the way it is, right? It's just the way it is. So there you go. I don't need any help emotioneering my conversations with my team. And I don't need any help not poking them in the eye, because you know what? I'm just direct and I'm just abrupt. And that's the way I am. And if they don't like it, they don't have to work for me. these things come up all the time. And most of the time, like these things that we're talking about and the triggers or the things that life are teaching us, that's also a very, very big part of what I do as a performance consultant, is that I coach to the mindset and talking or helping people shape how they give feedback or what they do, or unpicking a situation so that we can help them get more clarity so that they can go back and feel in a much more comfortable position, or have a courageous conversation. That's so important as in the workplace. It's important in their life to be able to do that. And look, taking a modern approach to business and looking at this from an emotioneering perspective is the answer to increase profits, highly engaged people, and record-breaking results. And I can say that with absolute certainty because I do it all the time. It's if there's a lack of belief from others, that's what I'm there to help with, to help them believe that it is possible to achieve more things, to adapt the way they are. If they're a fixed mindset, we may not be on the business journey together. We may not work together. But the other 3, definitely lots of potential there.
In my observation of you and in hearing what you're saying on this episode of the podcast today, it really comes down to the fact that you practice what you preach. You are the embodiment of the work that you're teaching, and that you have a high EQ to match your IQ.
Thanks. Well, that's really lovely. Thanks. It's not often you get told that. I feel it's been a journey, and no longer, Abigail, are we in a world where one over the other has to exist? Absolutely not. Compassionate and empathetic leadership with IQ will win, and we just don't see enough of it. It is out there. Look at Gary Vee, right? We both love Gary Vee. Look at Gary Vee, Mr. Empathy, compassion, love your life, embrace what you want to do.
It is really, really exciting times. And I love the fact that people are now becoming more open to consider different perspectives and have these kinds of conversations with professionals like you. Tell us something that you do with your time on a daily, weekly basis that you don't think that most people do.
So first of all, number one, the amount of time blocking conversations that I have, and I go, sure, so let's make a list of the things that we need to do, work out how long they'll take, put them in the diary and time block them. And people still aren't at that point. And that's not saying, that's not about my influence, it's about the magic of doing it. Auditing their time, like your book talks about in the 888 formula, figuring out where they're losing that time and then realizing, well, if I absolutely put this into my schedule, it will happen. It is 80% more likely to happen if you time block it. I put lunch in every day. So that is something I commit to every single day, whether I have to move it, like for this podcast, I put it in at 1:00 every day. Sometimes it has to change, and that's okay. But it makes me go, oh, I need to move this. Yes, because lunch is important. So first of all, if you're not time blocking your lunch, time you block your lunch in. It can move every day. It's okay, but just put it in. So that's number one, even just for 30 minutes, just put it in. Secondly, I have what I call reflection days. And if I'm feeling that I'm at a crossroads or I'm at a sticking point, I take a pen and a book and I go off to one of the lovely coffee shops down on the coast. And I sit there overlooking the sea and I spend a good afternoon with myself with pots of tea and fish finger sandwiches and and sit there and I ask myself questions and I write stuff down. And when I start writing, my thoughts get clearer. I understand what I need to do next and it just helps me move forward. So that's one of the other things I do. And thirdly, I aim not to let anyone down. The reason why I do these other things is because I'm on this mission to help people. And if I feel like I'm letting them down, then I don't want to do that. So if I'm committing to my clients, I'm committing to people around me, then I don't want to let them down. So I have to have some boundaries. So one of the things I don't necessarily allow in my life is popping in. People go, what do you mean popping in? Well, just let me know. Let's have a conversation in advance. Don't get me wrong. If your house is burning down and you've lost power or you've broken down outside my house, please don't think you can't knock the door and say, hey, are you okay? I need some help. That's all right. What I'm talking about is the general just inserting yourself into people's lives when actually I need to regain my balance and my energy too. And I give out a lot all week. So when it comes to maybe a Saturday morning, I do need to switch off the phone, everything to the outside world, do a bit of yoga so that by 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon, my battery's recharged. And if I allowed the whole popping in now and again, I would never get this sort of equilibrium or this balance to be as respondent as I am. I would be much more reactive. And I'd like to not let other people down by being reactive version of Mel rather than responsive version of Mel. Steve can sometimes have the reactive. He does see the tears. I am human. But, he prefers, I think, composed, controlled. We have a plan version of Mel, but he married me. He gets to have it all.
I love this. I absolutely love asking that question as well and hearing what it is that people share. What have you got coming up?
I am hoping to relaunch my podcast. There's been season 1 and season 2 of the Emotioneering podcast, and I'm looking forward to starting season 3 and really focusing on that. I will be getting back to writing because there's definitely another 2 or 3 books within me. I would like there to be a trilogy for sure of the Emotioneering books. So look out for those. And there'll be some information. And also if anybody goes to the website and you can just subscribe to the newsletter, I will be running free monthly workshops all around topics of humans at work, people operations, Emotioneering business results. So if they do, then they will get to know about those first and foremost.
As always, all of the links will be in the show notes, including the link to Melissa's podcast, where you'll be able to hear my episode on her podcast, which was in maybe season 2 or season 1. I can't remember, but you will be able to find all of the links and subscribe to her newsletter because you won't want to miss a thing that she has got coming up. Melissa, where do you hang out on social media?
Instagram. I put a lot of stuff about my life, the dog, Steve, me, business. That will all be on there. So it's at Melissa Curran _ and you can check out the business, which is at Modern Mind Group, and you'll be able to see everything that's going on with the business there. And on LinkedIn, you can also follow me there, connect with me, have a conversation, and see some of the things that I've got coming up for the business.
Melissa Curran, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast this week.
Thanks, Abigail. It's an awesome podcast. I'm so glad that you've got the followers and the listening count that you do. You're an absolute star, and more people should follow you. Your 888 formula makes sense. More people should embrace it, including myself. And yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity.
And until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay well, and remember, it is your time. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to let me know by leaving a review so I can keep the good stuff coming. Come and say hi on Instagram at Success by Design Training, or visit my website, successbydesigntraining.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Abigail Barnes. Until next time, don't forget, you are amazing and it's your time.